Hi, friends.
I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And we are an excellent little podcast.
We are here presenting you a little movie podcast starring Zach and Mitch.
Mitch, I think we're doing a podcast.
We are doing a podcast, Zach, and I think we're doing a nice legacy episode.
That we are. We're heading back to our good old days when we couldn't figure out what to do because there were no movies being released a week.
Yeah,
but
the one I chose was in the 80s.
The one I chose was also in the 80s, ironically.
Yours was 75.
Oh, it was 75. You're right.
Mm-hmm. So, if you were new to this channel and you didn't watch some of our earlier episodes, our earliest episodes, we did two separate episodes. One was about The Godfather, one was about Casablanca, and they were kind of our legacy episodes. Like,
Yeah.
what were movies that one of us hadn't seen or seen in a while, and the other one thought it was a clean plate. I thought Godfather was a clean plate.
And I hadn't seen Godfather.
And I hadn't seen Casablanca.
And I thought Casablanca was a clean plate, so it's kind of a match made in heaven.
And there wasn't really anything decently showing this week, so we thought, let's do this.
Yeah, and after seeing House Party and we realized that we didn't really get as much laughs as that, we were like, let's go ahead and do a legacy with comedies for this.
Yeah.
And admittedly, so we kind of asked each other like what our favorite comedies were, what is a clean plate to us. Mitch had never seen the one that I brought up with Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I have seen Trading Places, which is the one that you brought up, but I haven't seen it in a while. So I was like, yeah, we could roll with that. Let's roll with it.
Absolutely. Okay, Zach.
Yeah.
Would you do a quick explanation of our review system?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can say this is going to be the episode that we kind of say this for the last time. Because at this point, we've been doing it for a year, so I think you guys are aware of how we do our episodes. But for the last time, my friends, to those that are new here, how we review our episodes is that we kind of split it up into a couple of different categories. Usually, we split it up into Feed It to the Dog, where we really don't care for it, but we think that you should see it. Cook a little more where it needs a little change, a little seasoning, a little script change, director change, something to push it up to not feed it to the dog, but eat it up, which is we really, really enjoyed it. But this brings us to two really good Phantom categories, which is garbage disposal, where we think that it is absolute trash. Don't waste your money on it. This is not worth it. That's not really what you shouldn't spend your money on a ticket or a subscription service to see this movie specifically. Or we have the opposite, which is what we're talking about today, which are clean plates, which these are the highest of high echelons. There's not really like a low clean plate or a high clean plate. It's just a clean plate.
Right.
Now, a clean plate to me might be different from you, and a clean plate for you might be different for me.
Right.
And I think we're going to kind of get into that a little bit as we get into this review. But that's how we review our movies, my friends.
All right, so how we split this episode up. We're going to talk about Monty Python first. Zach's going to talk about it a little bit, why it's a clean plate for him, a brief summary, and then I'm going to give my honest review. Then we're going to go to Trading Places, where I will do the same with Zach, and Zach will give the review for Trading Places.
Yep.
Then we have some other things to talk about, and then we will end it, and we'll see you next week. Yeah. All right, Zach, Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail. All right, so obviously with the first part of the title, Monty Python. So that means a lot to different people. You either really love Monty Python, British humor comedy, or you don't. It's literally my parents are actually a really good barometer of that. My mom really, really doesn't care for Monty Python, but my dad loves Monty Python. So this movie is kind of for each of their own, but I personally really love this movie. It was directed by Terry Gilliam and Terry Jones, which are members of Monty Python, and then it's written by all the members of Monty Python. I could go through the entire list, but
you all know it.
But you all know the who was in Monty Python. So, and it was actually produced by their studio, which is Python brackets Monty Pictures. So, brief summary of Monty Python and the Holy Grail is basically it's a bunch of skits going through King Arthur finding his Knights of the Round Table and going on a quest to seek for the Holy Grail. That's basically it.
Pretty much, yeah. Do you want to do a brief IMDb?
Nah, I think that pretty much summarizes up pretty well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, Zach, do you want me to do my first thoughts real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. I would love to hear your first thoughts, my friend.
It was a lot.
It is. It's a lot.
Was I laughing? Yes. Was I rolling? No. Was I laughing so hard I cried? No. Did I still enjoy my time? Yes. But I think you may have hyped it up a little too much.
Okay, that's fair.
So I'm going to save my review.
Yeah.
But why is it a clean plate for you?
Well, for me, so obviously some good comedies having a good story also helps the movie, but I'm here for laughs.
Yeah.
So Monty Python is really good in skit humor. So they did the smart thing of basically splitting the movie up into a bunch of different skits, especially when you get into each of the own night's adventures. Some of those skits are freaking hilarious.
Sure.
I only have to talk about Bravely Bold Sir Robin rode forth from Camelot.
Yeah.
I
Bring out your dead.
Bring out your dead. Look, a European swallow, I swear to God, it's better than an African swallow.
Yeah.
Or stop, reverse it. An African swallow can carry a coconut, but it's not migratory. But there's so many like small nitty gritty jokes, and it's so Monty Python.
The arrow.
Message for you, sir. But there's so many like the special moments in here where I always, whenever I watch this movie, I'm always cackling. I'm always crying with laughter. I'm on the floor at some of them. It's such a great way of doing comedy, and it's just unapologetic, and it just goes for it, and it's so good. So that to me is why it is a clean plate.
All right, so my review, I mentioned it to you before we started. I might backtrack that a little bit.
Okay.
It is a low eat it up for me. Lowest of low of eat it up.
Okay.
Because, yes, there were bits in the movie where I was laughing.
Yeah.
Like the opening titles. Oh, my God.
I was nose
dying.
wiped by.
I was dying. Because, like, so the people who made the subtitles, they've been canned. And the people that canned them have been canned.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. And when John Cleese is running through after that running scene, and he runs through and kills everybody. And I'm just like, this is so stupid, but it's so funny. And he goes in and he thinks he's saving a lady, but it's
Herbert.
Yeah, it's Herbert. And he's like, oh, I must be mistaken. And then he tries to climb out the window. That scene had me because the guards that were watching were like, okay, so we're going to make sure that he stays here. Yes. But then they try to follow the king. No, where are you going? We're going to follow you.
We're following you.
No, you are staying here to make sure no one leaves, unless it's you. Yes. So we are not to allow anybody in unless it's you. Right. But why doesn't he just leave with us and we can just watch him? No! But I gotta say, it's a low end of Eat It Up because I am more, when it comes to comedy, I'm more into the story aspect of it.
Sure, absolutely.
Because... now, I'm all for like SNL skits and Monty Python skits. I'm all for that. But I feel like when it comes to those, they should be more into the TV side of things.
Sure.
But I still enjoyed it. It did its job. It was funny, but I just wasn't like dying with laughter.
Sure.
All right. So it's my turn.
All right.
Trading Places.
Yeah.
Studio brought to you by Paramount. Directed by the classic man, John Landis. Screenplay by Timothy Harris and Herschel Weingrod. My context.
No, you're
so
good.
Brief summary. I'm not going to go to IMDb, but a big 1980s yuppie played by Dan Aykroyd and his comedic genius is framed and trades places with a nice Eddie Murphy who was living in the slums. They trade places. Eddie Murphy replaces Dan Aykroyd, and Dan Aykroyd goes to the slums.
It's a rags to riches, riches to rags story.
Yes. And it's Oh, funny. But Zach, give me your first thoughts.
Yeah, so this is actually my dad's favorite comedy. So I'm no stranger to Trading Places. This is Eddie Murphy to me at his height.
Because this is right after Coming to America, I think.
Yep, this is it's right after Coming to America. Dan Aykroyd is also, I believe it's just before Ghostbusters.
I think it was 2 years before. So this was before Coming to America. No, it was after Coming to America, but it was the year after Coming to America, but 2 years before Ghostbusters.
Yeah, so they are in the prime of like their SNL time. Like this is like totally like an SNL film. Basically, I feel like that they had an idea for a sketch with one specific scene, and then they said, nope, we're not going to do it. And basically they went, all right, fine, we'll make a freaking movie out of it.
Yeah.
And then ta-da, Trading Places.
Yeah. So why is it a clean plate for me? I mean, what else can be said about this movie? Jamie Lee Curtis gives a classic performance too, which congratulations to her for being nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, congrats.
And Dan Aykroyd. So his comedy in this isn't his best.
No.
But it's his comedic timing in this is
Exactly.
top notch. But Eddie Murphy's comedy, that is top notch. And the butler, Coleman, oh my God, that is comedic timing to a T. And
he steals scenes, dude.
But
he steals scenes.
One scene that I can't get out of my brain was when they had Dan Aykroyd just got out of jail.
Yeah.
Winthorne is his name. And Eddie Murphy's his Valentine. Valentine is in the limo with Coleman.
Yep.
And Winthorne is in a taxi with Jamie Lee Curtis, and he's complaining, and they look, and he sees the limo. That's my limo, Coleman! And he's screaming, and I'm like, oh my God. And Valentine's like, that's the dude that got me busted, because they met originally, and Winthorne gets Valentine put in jail, and that's when the Duke brothers have this bet, $1 bet, which comes back to bite them in the butt at the end. We have to find him and tell him to sell. But that's the thing. There's so many perfect moments in this film that you just can't get out of your brain, and you are laughing. And the gorilla scene.
God.
The
gorilla scene. To be honest, like, out of this entire movie, there are two scenes that stick out to me. It's the train scene.
Yes.
And then the supplemental gorilla scene.
Eye for Speed.
And to me, that's the height of this movie, is just when they start their heist, when they start their plan on the train. That's the best. Like you said, there's a lot of great gags in this, and this is more of a story-driven comedy than it is like skit comedy.
Yes.
But it's really good. It's really supplemented by really wonderful jokes from every single stupid one, from Coleman to the fucking gorilla clutching onto a guy in a gorilla suit. Like it's also, it's amazing and stupid, but
sorry
amazing.
to cut you off, and then I'll get to your review. But one episode that I relate to, and you could probably relate to too, is when Winthorne has to make a cash withdrawal. Writes a check. I'm making a cash withdrawal of $500. Actually, we're gonna make this $750. You know what? Let's just make it $1,000. And writes a check, gives it to the clerk. 1 minute, and here comes the manager. Your your account has been frozen. I'm also need to confiscate your credit cards. But, and then he gets kicked out. Why is someone trying to deliberately ruin my life? And I'm like, and then he tries to go to Jamie Lee Curtis in the taxi on his knees. Get off your knees, Louie. I can't. Zach, what's your review?
All right, so like I said, I've had a history with this, so I knew when the jokes were coming. I knew what I was about to laugh at. But the point was that I was still laughing. And that's kind of a hallmark of a good comedy, especially a good story comedy, is that you keep on laughing at the jokes no matter what. And is it a clean plate for me? Admittedly, no.
That's fine.
But it is an eat it up. It is definitely an eat it up.
So I'm actually glad we both said it's not a clean plate, because it's showing the audience here.
We disagree.
We do disagree a lot.
We disagree.
Batman.
Robin.
But I am glad we had this episode, because it also tells you guys that we don't just watch films in theaters. We also have our legacy films that we watch on a daily, sometimes yearly basis. Yeah. Like Trading Places. I almost try to watch that once a year. Yeah. Or Coming to America. Zach, you said you try to watch Monty Python once a year.
I watch Monty Python once a year minimum.
So, and
minimum.
That's the thing. Like I try to watch The Godfather once a year. He tries to watch
Casablanca all the time.
We try to watch other films than just new ones.
Yeah.
Because we enjoy them.
Well, and there's also films that we've also missed.
Yes.
Like either we weren't born, or
we just missed it.
Or we just missed it. There's a lot, and especially in a year like 2023, where all these COVID movies got pushed back to this year.
Yes.
This is going to be a hard year for movie reviewers, I feel like, because we are there's going to be so many movies coming out that we are going to have to miss one and make calculated decisions. This is the movie that we're going to see this week, and it means that we're probably going to miss this movie, and it sucks, but we'll have to.
Yeah.
And
it's what
it is what it is.
We do apologize for missing those films, but if you want us to see them, definitely let us know. But Zach has an announcement.
Yeah. So releasing on the heels of this episode, my pet project is going to release a teaser.
Oh yeah?
Followed by it's a first official episode. It is going to be called A Monthly Carol. Okay. And the point of it is, once again, if you don't remember from our top
I think it was
anticipated
films,
what it is that Jacob Marley has come to each and every single one of you and has said, hey, you didn't have as good of a year as you should have. So I am bringing out the full catalog of all the ghosts of each month to guide you through to how to have a better year. So so we're going to go ahead and start with January. Normally that they go ahead and start on the first of every month, and they will, once January figures out what it wants to do with itself. And then, because it's still figuring itself out. It's still figuring itself out.
We still haven't even got that DC Studios film slate yet.
Yeah.
And they have a few days.
So, but trust me, it's one of those things of, it's gonna be a weekly thing. You're gonna have different voice actors for each month. Mitch, you actually are cast in a month. I just haven't told you just yet which one is gonna be, but I'm partnering with a whole bunch of friends. All the scripts are pretty much written. So you're gonna have a whole lot of fun with being led through the months as if you are Scrooge and going through. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. You're going to have a boatload of a time. But here, my friends, after we close this out, is going to be your teaser. So on that note, my friends,
don't forget to leave us a like,
subscribe, ring that notification bell icon,
or email us at elpodcastmz@gmail.com.
Yeah. But until that time, my friends, I'm Zach.
I'm Mitch.
And we are an excellent little podcast.